feminism in horror, specifically horror written by men. Let's get into it and talk about it. Trigger warning, obviously, of SA, misogyny, sexism, etc. So if any of those topics upset you, please don't watch. So at first we'll get into one of the more prolific authors of this current century, Stephen King, and feminism in his work. First is Pet Cemetery. Basically all the female characters, even though yes, they die, it sucks, but they are given their own character arcs and backstory and good complex themes attached to them. And it all interwoven with the idea of death, which is what Pet Cemetery is about. And the women are written the same as the men, I'd say. Moving on. Next we have Gerald's Game, written by Stephen King, one of his most famous films, and it's good. Jesse is a very complex character, and I like how he tackles her abuse, even though yes, I am not a woman and I haven't gone through this, but just from my opinion, it's quite good how they tackle it. Because again, she's written just the same as she would be as a man, and the issues are tackled in a sensitive way, where the issues she goes through make her stronger by the end. So yeah, she's a really good character. So when it comes to it, with the character of Beverly, like she's pretty well done as a character. She's well done and she's a strong character, but there's one complaint I have. It's the child scene. If that was taken out, I'd have no complaints. But with that in mind, she is a bit too sexualized. But arguably, in King's defense, I'm not just defending the child scene in it, but the rest of it, like how he does sexualize women sometimes in his books. He's a straight guy. Like, any author, straight, gay, whatever, they're gonna lean more into sexualization of whichever gender they're attracted to. Like, there's a lot of hot dudes in Clive Barker's books, I'm just saying. Depending on the author's preferences, that gender is going to be more sexualized in their book. And also, I can't really complain about Beverly because she's a strong character and I like that she does fight back against her abuser and it makes her stronger for it. And she's a well-written character. Moving on. Now, as for Dr. Sleep, are most of the women in it either not really memorable or villains? Yes. But does it? Wendy's in it. Wendy has a cameo in it, and she's really good. But yeah, the women, Rose Hatton, she's a great villain. The women characters aren't the best, like as in treated the best. But to be fair, he didn't. I don't think he even wanted to write this book. Really, it was more just because people wanted a sequel to Shining. So it's like, eh. Now, as for Carrie, she's a brilliant character, and really, yeah, does he kill her off at the end? Yes, but like, what else was he supposed to do? I feel like if she didn't die, that'd be worse, because like she wasn't gonna be she wasn't gonna have a happy life if she survived. So I just feel like with Carrie, it is one of those things where Carrie's a strong character. Margaret White, even though yeah, she's a woman, she's a great villain, and women should be able to be villains and heroes. And yeah, they're both really great, and I love them both. And yeah, Carrie, I think it's great, and she's a good, strong character, and I feel like the horror, she is definitely the most influential horror character who's a woman, because when it comes to other female characters, you'll see a lot of links that are her to her, mainly tragic equals crazy woman. You get that a lot, and I will get to the problematic elements of that later. Now, as for Misery, is Annie Wilkes a great villain? Yes. I understand why some people might find her offensive because she is the crazy woman archetype, but in defense, Paul, like Paul's assistant, not assistant, but like the woman who does books with Paul, and also the sheriff's wife. They're both kind, loving, very nice female characters. So it kind of, it balances itself out. Also, Kathy Bates is just brilliant in this role, and I have no complaints really. She's just brilliant, and I think like anything offensive gets written off of it essentially just because of how great she is in the role, and also how great she is written by Stephen King. And as for Sleepwalkers, with the women, yeah, I can't defend it. She isn't the best. Like, she's a bit bland. He's a good, but as yeah, and also the only other really important female character is a crazy incestuous cat monster. So I understand why you'd think this is bad female representation, but this was the high, like years when Stephen King was high, and this is a comedy, really. It's labelled a horror, but really it's just something you'd laugh at, and it's so campy and good. So it's like you're not meant to take it seriously, as you can see just by watching it. Yeah, it's not meant to be taken seriously. Also, I will say the main guy in this is hot. Moving on. As so for a femme fatale, if that's somewhat a woman who uses their sexuality or sexual charms to kill and get what they want, and they're usually a villain. Now, let's get into Hellraiser. I'm using clips from Hellraiser, Hellbound Hellraiser 2 just because it has more Julia in it. And the reason that is because Julia, she, in the first movie, she's having an affair and she basically just kills a bunch of men to resurrect someone she has the hots for, essentially. Which I will, it is really good, though she's really good in that because, like, it shows female lust and sexual warmth from a woman, and it's really good because it's not really shown that much, and it's shown both visually and it's also sad. And also in the second one, she's brilliant in the second one because like she's this badass. She doesn't need a man anymore because like she's got an over Frank because he killed her. She's working for basically she's working for the devil, the Cenobites. She rips out someone's heart, so she's really like badass and the best. So this is why I think this is a good example of the femme fatale in horror because it's like it's very empowering and it shows like women can do just anything a man can do. It won't be the case for all these, sadly. Now, as for in Chucky, we have Jennifer Tilly as like the femme fatale archetype, and I think she gets a pass because she's brilliant in the role. But yeah, it will be a concerning amount when I like this archetype in women. But to be fair, she does a really good job at it, and obviously, yeah, she's really good, and she's all for making fun of herself, and she's just really good, and it's less mean spirited, and it's more like embracing freedom and sexuality. So that's why I think does a good job at it. Now, as for in Gremlins 2, a featured is because there's a character who tries to seduce one of the characters, Billy, and she like forces herself on him. But I think this shows it's a comedy, so you don't take it that seriously. To be fair, and B, also it shows men can be just as bad as women. And it also shows that it happens that men just have more opportunity in society to be bad. And yeah, it's just a comedy, so it like don't take it too seriously. So, Evil Dead Rise, the reason like I've featured this is because obviously someone gets possessed by Deadite, becomes evil, she's also a woman. But the reason I'll defend this is because, like, yeah, she's a woman, but it's like the Deadite's taking control of her, and it's not really consensual. So you could see it as a metaphor for, like, SA and stuff like that. So you can actually see it as, like, saying, like all these men taking control of women is bad, and you can see it more as like an allegory for that if you wanted to. So yep, that's why I don't think it's really anti-feminist Evil Dead Rise, but radically anti-feminist horror films, which we'll get to. Now, with The Babysitter, what I'll say is, again, comedy. You're not supposed to take anything seriously, but also the women in this are actually portrayed pretty smart. With Samantha Weaving's character, she's portrayed as like a pretty smart, clever, mainly because she's like the main slasher of the villain of the movie and its sequel. So she's actually portrayed pretty smart, and it's actually the male and female side characters. They're portrayed as a bit dumber, but still like yeah, it's good, and like yeah, it's more just like the female characters who need to do more for the story are portrayed as smart, and like it's only like yeah, so some characters are portrayed as dumb, but it's actually more the male characters, and it's fun as well, and it's a comedy again. So moving on. So then we get Saw, and I have a lot to say first with Amanda. She's a villain, yes, but she starts off as a victim. Then she starts off, very sympathetic, and of course gets madder, crazier, and more of a villain. Which the good thing I'll say is great performance by Shawnee Smith, first of all, and like she's a complicated character, one of the most complicated non-John Kramer characters of the series, and she's a good character. My only complaint: they killed her. They killed her off too early, because she could have had her own set of films just on her own. Uh, Hopefully they either retcon her dying and like say, oh no, she didn't die. She just was in prison and no one talked about it. Like I'd rather they retcon it or just give her a bunch of prequels. Either way. Next, with the only other female Saw character who gets as much screen time as Amanda is Jill Tuck, and honestly, Jill Tuck is one of my favourite characters. I don't know why. I love her character, I just do. I only have one complaint, and that's Saw 3D slash Saw 7. That it's it's probably the most misogynistic of the films. I think because the writer was going through a divorce, and obviously she took it out in the form of a script, which maybe it would have been better as two films like originally intended. I don't know, but what the main thing is, Joel Tuck's death, like she gets killed off, and it's so mean because like she shouldn't have been killed off, and also most of the like women who are prostitutes in Saw happen to be also non-white women. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna like Saw. Do you have something to say? Like, why aren't white women prostitutes? It's very like it's not just sexism and misogyny. It is also like racism. But like I know it's probably not intentional, but it's like more like a microaggression, but still it's bad. Just not bad, but it's still bad. Okay? So but hopefully they improve because at least when they are prostitutes and junkies like the female characters, they are usually portrayed as sympathetic, which that's good. There's only one female character really that isn't sympathetic, and that's Celia in Saw X. But like, it's a female villain who like is on the same level as John Kramer, and she's like a cancer scammer, which I'd say that's like really creative and fun, because it's like someone on the same level as John, which I do really like, and yeah, it's just really like it's good, and she's a good character. But I understand if you don't like her, especially after again what Saw X does. Not Saw X, I mean Saw 3D and does. But it's still a good movie, Saw 3D. I feel like, but yeah, I understand also since like an innocent woman gets killed in a trap for something a man did, and like this woman was the kindest woman. She was super sweet, and she gets punished for it. in a Nazi trap as well. So it's like, yeah, not the best, and it is definitely misogynistic. But for Saw writers have changed for Saw X, like they've gotten better. So I'll leave it at that for now. Hopefully Saw 11 gets better and better. Now, as for films like Friday 13th, Halloween, or those like 80s slashers, the way they treat women isn't the best. That's all I have to say, because like the whole thing is if a woman sleeps around, woman gets murdered and it's murdered. And well, for the guy, it's not usually the same because there's usually like a guy can usually survive. But if a woman sleeps around and isn't, chastity levels, like she dies. That's basically what it is, and yeah, it sucks. And this has changed in recent years where it doesn't matter as much, which I do approve of. It's like women, they should be able to sleep around just as much as men and not be murdered. So I do like that in recent years it's changed. And I do like that also if you show a man sleeping around just as much as a woman and they both die because of it, that is the better option if you're going to do that trope. Because it is a bit of a harmful trope, but not, it's also like it depends on the tone. In the Friday the 13th remake, oh yeah, that the whole idea, since this is a more gritty series remake, means you shouldn't have like that message about women. But it's also directed by Michael Bay, so like yeah, there's obviously going to be disrespect towards women if it's a Michael Bay film. If this is the same person who fired Megan Fox because she didn't like him after he was a complete arsehole towards her. Just a quick reminder, Michael Bay bad, Megan Fox good. Support Megan Fox, Jennifer's Body, etc. So, Silence of the Lambs, obviously you've got Jodie Foster as Chloe Starling, and you know how it's a very feminist movie because like they hired a bunch of taller men who were taller than her to look down at her, look down into camera, make you feel as small as the men are making her feel because because it's a patriarchal society where obviously with most men being on the police force, it's a very uncomfortable because like that's how lots of women obviously would feel because of how men treat women, and it is uncomfortable, but it's very good that they did this, and it's very important to show how women feel because of men. And yeah, also it's just a really good movie, and Clarice, she overcomes this and fights back against a character who kind of represents the patriarchy and like masculinity in a bad way, and like because Buffalo Bill, when she kills him, that's her fighting against like sexism, misogynistic men, because that's what he kind of represents. So with Terrifier 2 and 3, you've got a great character in Sienna Shaw, and basically in the second one you've got her fighting against Art the Clown, being like his arch nemesis essentially, and just being very empowered doing all these stunts. So she's really like empowered and really good in that. Then in third one, they make her more complex, like male characters usually are in media, by giving her mental health struggles, kind of like Spider-Man. So it's like she's going through mental health struggles, she has outbursts, that she's being oppressed by the media and news podcasts kind of people, and it shows how she's like very complex. So Black Christmas, I'm showing clips from the remake, yes, but just because I don't have I just go with it, even though I'm talking about the original. The original is brilliant, and what I love about it is the female characters because they're all written. Some of them are drunk, some of them are vulgar, some of them are sexual, and that's okay because it revels in the femininity. It revels in the fact that yeah, they're women, but they can do. They should be treated like men are, but they're not treated like that by the men, and it does show it. Like there's a scene with a cop where he doesn't take a woman seriously when she says she feels like someone's been murdered or someone's stalking her. Her concerns aren't taken seriously because of misogyny, sadly. And then the main thing is the main character. She's like her her shitty boyfriend, and he's one of the shittiest, by the way, saying she can't have an abortion because he wants a baby. I'm not. I don't care what your political belief is. Okay, he shouldn't be trying to control someone just because he's miserable, and that's basically what he does. And she basically stands up for herself, says she's getting an abortion, and he can fuck off. And I love that because it just shows that she's independent. And keep in mind, this Black Christmas came out at the same time when the Stepford Wives, that film, was being panned by male critics because they thought the male characters weren't believable enough for, wanting to control and basically control women, even though that's a thing lots of men do, sadly, in the real world. And probably some of those critics also did that without realizing it or realizing it. And anyway, so yeah, this is Black Christmas was a very brave film to come out at the time it did in the 70s. And yeah, the women in that are brilliant. So, Terrifier. Art the Clown is a misogynist, basically. That's what I'm going to say because, well, he mainly only targets women. Like, with men, yeah, he kills them, but with women, I feel like he's extra cool, especially in the first Terrifier and the Terrifier short film, because of some of the words he carves into women. Like, he's the most brutal with them, taunts them the most, and yeah, I think he is maybe supposed to represent, like, either toxic masculinity or misogyny. And yeah, that's all I'll say. But yeah, he's a very good. He he's probably represents misogyny, and also maybe, especially when he dresses up as a woman and wears a woman, like that might mean it as well. And yeah, that's all I have to say really. And I do feel like even though yeah they don't do it as much in the later films, it's still prevalent. And I feel like maybe art has a Norman Bates kind of thing where he had some trouble with a mother figure. Instead of becoming having mother issues like Norman Bates, he has mother issues more like Freddy Krueger, where he's more like mean to women. So with Obsession, it's obvious that Bear is a misogynist because of how he, you know, is a rapist and like yeah, all that. And he doesn't necessarily hate all women, but he hates all women who can consent essentially. And yeah, he's the bad guy, he's the villain, and yeah, not much else to say. He's a bad person, he's a rapist, and that's really why he's a misogynist. Villain. Now, with Freddy, not Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger, it's obvious why he's a misogynist. It's the same thing with Art the Clown. He targets women more, he uses the word bitch a lot, and he's just very unpleasant towards women more, and also unpleasant towards gay people, gay men in number two, because like gay people are considered more feminine, so that also plays into misogyny. So, Candyman. I will say, as a villain, I do think you can interpret him as misogynist. He's like, Helen, he wants her. He says only he can have her, stuff like that. And it's like, it was always you, Helen, he needs her. He, he like ruins her life just to get her. And you'll find a lot of men do that. Bad men do that. But I will say, Candyman is just a good film, to be fair. And also, Helen is a brilliant written character. Again, Clive Barker, when he writes women, he writes them strong, independent. He's a lot like Stephen King. He's the gay Stephen King, I'd say. Yeah. And again, I will say, I do think gay writers do tend to write women better, uh, just because they don't sexualize women, obviously, because they're not as attracted to them as they are men. And that's the only reason, really. But straight men can write good female characters, mainly Stephen King. And I do like, yeah, mainly Stephen King. And Wes Craven, obviously. He does, yeah, with Nancy Thompson, I'd say. But yeah, that's it, really. As for Candyman, it's great. Now, should men write like feminist stories from the perspective of a woman going through stuff, similar to Barbarian and that? Yeah, I think they should. Because, like, A, media is consumed by both genders and anything in between. Like, media is for everyone. So I think it can be any story can be written by anyone as long as it's a good story. That's all, really. And next, what else do I think? Well, and this is usually when feminist stories are written by women, men don't listen. I know this because, like, I remember you had Black Christmas 2019. When that was a feminist story, men didn't listen. And does it also not help that that Black Christmas 2019 also wasn't a good movie? Yes, but my point is, even good feminist stories written by women that are good on their own, regardless of any message, men still don't listen as much. Straight men, at least. Because when you look at other examples, like look at Kathleen Kennedy's Star Wars trilogy. Yes, it was bad towards the end. Like the first one was the, like the first film she did. I think it was the first Ray one. That was great, honestly, and it had a good positive message. But when the later ones started to suck. Men didn't pay attention to the message. They start complaining that it was woke, when really it wasn't. I'd say arguably some of the Star Wars films aren't woke because like they're the minorities in it, which is great, but they don't do much with them, or they don't give them actual characters to play, which I feel that's a bit more insulting, honestly. Just get a minority in and do nothing with them. So yeah, again, men don't listen to women. Who, stories written by women as much. Like, let's just compare popularity. How many people know about the Stepford Wives compared to something like Carrie? Both are feminists, but Carrie people know a lot more in pop culture than the Stepford Wives. Most people just know it as, I think it's horror in suburbia. Like, that's what most people would know it as. Whereas Carrie, oh, look at blood, prom, she has these powers, religion. They know all that stuff, which is a lot more than they know about the Stepford Wives. And what's the big difference? Because they were both released at a similar time. Yeah, one's a woman, one's more woman, one's more man. That's the difference. So I think it's important to have stories written that are feminist, written by men, so other men will listen. And I think that is really important because evidence shows men are more likely to listen to other men, and if it's a positive message, then at least they're listening to a good message. And that's all I'd say, really. Because if men aren't going to listen to women and only listen to men, make sure the message they're listening to is a good one. And that's all I have to say. And just be be good, nice people.